People could look it up, what it is. But it entails one of the things in the Murph is 100 pull-ups. And I could do like one pull-up, okay? Like one pull-up. I'm like, this is, first of all, it's sad. I need to work out more. But this is when I first started. And I was like, I'm just going to I installed a pull-up bar in our house. I'm like, I'm going to do one pull-up a day. And then maybe in between cooking, I'll go do a pull-up and come back and do a pull-up. And so just doing like one a day. And, as you know, when you're standing there, you're like, okay, this is I'm just going to do one. I'll do two this time. I'll do three. I'll do four.
Welcome to A Founder's Life, and I'm your host, Leo Gestetner. On this show, we dive into the real stories behind the highs and lows of entrepreneurship and how we pursue a more balanced and meaningful life along the way. This podcast is sponsored by Thanks, helping founders like us scale with reliable remote talent. Email founders@thanks.com, that's THANKZ.com, with the subject line, A Founder's Life, and you'll get $1,000 off your first month. Now, I'm excited today to be joined by Jeremy Weisz. Jeremy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, Leo, and I'll have to check out Thanks. I've never heard of it. So that's cool. Yeah. So first of all, thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat. I guess I would describe myself as a recovering chiropractor. I don't practice anymore, but I studied biochemistry at Wisconsin, went on to chiropractic school, and they don't teach you business in chiropractic school, right? In most professional schools. So I was going to marketing and business conferences. We're talking like 2006, 2007. And I stumbled across this thing. At that time, it wasn't called podcasting. It was, people publishing interviews, whatever. And I really took to it. And I started podcasting at that time. And by accident, that turned into a separate business where people were asking me to help them launch and run their podcast. My podcast, Inspired Insider, and it had nothing to do with health, by the way, being a chiropractor, even though I know you geek out on health too, so do I. But it was just discovering the entrepreneur journey through different founders. I had the founders of P90X and RX Bar and Quest Nutrition. And it kind of combines everything I love. And I'm sure you can attest to this, which is professional development. I get to learn from awesome people. I get to form amazing relationships. It could be partnerships. It could be clients. I could be their clients, and also just creating content and authority. So that kind of started the journey of, and by the way, I didn't even know, maybe a couple of years in, I was talking to my friend Ian Garlick, and he's like, Jeremy, you're running an agency. I'm like, what's an agency? I didn't even know what an agency was, right? Because I was just solving a problem, just, for people. And he's like, so I kind of went down that rabbit hole of what can I learn from some of the top agencies around, and that it kind of leads me. That's what we do at Rise 25. We launch and run podcasts for businesses. So it's been an interesting journey. When I started chiropractic school, I never thought I would be doing this, but kind of just go where life takes me.
Nice. And do you come up with the podcasts yourself? Are you just talking to people and they say, well, I want to launch this podcast, and you help them design what it's going to look like, edit and post, or what are you doing for them?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I mean, by the way, I'll preface this as we don't do like true crime podcasts or comedy podcasts or sports podcasts. It's really someone who has a business and wants more authority, partnerships, clients. So people come to us with businesses, anywhere from software companies to agencies to law firms to medical offices. And we always start with the strategy first. And really we kind of hammer in to create a Dream 200 first, right? And that Dream 200, some people define it as like clients. I think of it as strategic partners, referral partners, big authorities in the space, obviously clients, potential clients, past clients. So we want them to kind of create with them a Dream 200 foundation of who's going to be involved in the podcast process, right? And that's where we start people with a roadmap. And then, because people want to jump to, Leo, sometimes the sexy, like, I just want to post it. I want to get it out there. I'm like, okay, let's form an actual plan of what do you want to accomplish? What's the goal, right? Because everyone has different goals. Some people want to build a referral pipeline. Some people want to build a client pipeline. Some people, believe it or not, have as much business as they want, and they need to staff up so that they use it to attract talent to their company. So it just depends, but that's the biggest thing. And, the funny thing is we break it into, there's warm people in our universe, right? People we know. And then there's cold people, right? We don't know. People always want to go to the coldest of cold. Like, Leo, if I could just get this person on, it'd be amazing. I'm like, well, why don't you start with the people that already know, like, and trust you, right? And so we talk about really, how do you give to those people? And the way I think of it, and this sounds weird, but it's not about, for me, it's not about getting a referral partner. It's not about getting a client with my podcast. It's actually just about giving as much as humanly possible to the other person. Okay. And so that's just the medium I have found that is great to give to someone, which is profiling them on the podcast. It doesn't have to be a podcast, right? You could post about someone on social media, right? And that takes 5 minutes to do. You could send them a gift. You can send them something in the mail. Like, there's a lot of ways. And so that's just like one piece of giving to someone.
I love that. Sounds like some good advice there. Now, tell me what family looks like for you.
So I am married. I have 2 daughters. And so you mentioned balance on the front end of what you're saying. And when I heard that, I wrote down balance. I'm like, oh, that's a tough one. I mean, that's really difficult because, I'm an Uber driver. I'm a private chef, right? I'm doing multiple carpools in the evening, sometimes at 9 p.m., multiple times for dance classes. I am preparing whatever breakfast everyone wants in the morning. So balance is a tough one, right? With family life, work, and then I know a big part of yours is health, and me too. So it's like, what do I sacrifice? Because it's hard to fit everything in, right? And I have a goal of doing 4 miles every week of swimming, in addition to working out every day for an hour. So that's like an hour and a half. So usually my sleep tends to get sacrificed with all this, so I'm like, I used to be an evening person where I would stay up until, 1 or 2 or later. And now I've reversed that because it's impossible for me. Like, I just need to, wake up, and especially when the kids are in school, try and get out the door by 5 to, get everything in before, we have to get them out the door for school.
Yeah, I'm similar in terms of my kids are older, but I get up early and I go to bed early because I need a good night's sleep. I mean, sleep is an important part of health. And by the way, when I say balance, nothing is permanently imbalanced, unless you're a monk. But for most of us mere mortals, I define balance as that center line. So at some point, you're nonstop in work or in family or in health. I know you're planning to do a triathlon. That takes a lot of time. But it's what is the overall center line? How does balance work? That's really my definition around.
And I like, I was thinking about this morning when I was swimming. I was like, how do I push limits? Right? Because what I find is, okay, with the triathlons, for instance, and you've experienced this with your training. Okay, I want to do now 10 miles a day in biking and, 0.5 to a mile a day in swimming and work out for an hour. So now we have to wake up earlier or fit it in the evening or something like that. But it's funny. Before I thought I was like packed before adding the bike, right? My schedule. Then I had the bike in. I'm like, okay, well, I could squeeze this in. And then when I peel something away, it still feels packed. But I'm like, wait, it wasn't as packed as I thought, right? So for me, it's like also just pushing the limits on what can I accomplish in a day,
There's a little task I love to do sometimes. And I actually haven't done it for a while, but I've done it many times over the years. And I've actually also got many people in my team to do over the years, which is keeping a diary for a week of what you're actually doing. For me, it's every half an hour when you're doing it is sort of keeping track of it. Because then you really find where there are things that you're probably not wasting your time because you're a senior guy. You don't waste your time. But it might be that you're like, well, okay, I spend 2 hours a day doing something. I could get someone that I can pay 10, 15 bucks an hour to do. And maybe I can spend more time working, or maybe that's more time I can spend in the gym. And that's worth to me that investment. So, it's looking at what can you farm off to someone else, or what can you be more efficient with. But as I said, most likely it's farming off to an assistant or something like that.
That's a great one. I love that. I have to get back to that. Like a couple years ago, I had one of my assistants meet with me for 2 hours and we look through my calendar and we look through everything on there. right? And then as a business, we used to do this. We did a intervention meeting. The intervention meeting was with me, actually. So myself and my co-founder, and there was one other person on there. We made a list of the thing. I don't know why the intervention meeting was on me, maybe, but we made a list of things because I tend to take on a lot. And then we kind of looked at, what do I not like doing that I shouldn't be doing? And then we just started getting that off first. And then the next was, what do I like doing that I should not be doing? That was a little more difficult, right? And, the not liking is the easy part. But when we start getting into the liking and I shouldn't be doing, that was more difficult. So I think I was white knuckling some of the stuff. Like, no, I like doing that, but I shouldn't be doing it. So eventually we whittled that list down. I forgot how many things were on it. Let's say there was 50 things. We whittled it down to like the 5 things that I should be doing that I like doing. Right. And so
sounds like you're ready for another one of those reviews.
I definitely am. I think it's been a while. So yeah, thanks for the reminder on that.
What do you like to do for fun?
I am into health, like we talked about. I actually I love playing basketball for fun. I tore my meniscus the other year, and then that's when I was like, oh, I can't. And I was playing softball and basketball, tore my meniscus. And that's when I started swimming, because it's like the only thing I could do that wasn't putting pressure on my knee. And I actually took to it. So I like exercising. I love talking to founders, entrepreneurs, and business. I was talking to my friend, Duncan Alney. He runs Firebelly Marketing, and we were chatting. And he was like, you always love talking business. And then, his wife overheard him say that to me. And said, I guess after we got off, says, why were you so mean to Jeremy? And I didn't take it as mean, honestly. And he called back. He's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, I do. If we're on the phone, it's just fun to create, and I didn't even, again, when I became a chiropractor, I was entrepreneurial, but I never really, kind of labeled myself as an entrepreneur. I was just a chiropractor who had his own business. Right. And so discovering that word and really looking into the kind of the mentality, I just love with creative ideas and everything like that. So love spending time with the family. I try and have like a date night or day with one of my daughters each week, in their busy schedules. So just going to a dinner and chatting with no phones. So just carving that out, that time, or it won't happen. So scheduling it for me, if it's not in there, is not going to happen, So those things I like: health, sports, family, and business.
And for you, what has been a pivotal moment in your life?
There's a couple pivotal moments. I think one pivotal moment, and I was thinking about, there was several years back, I was thinking about what drives me, right? Because sometimes I'll just have a goal for no apparent reason, right? And just do it. Just go out and do it. And, I was thinking about it. A pivotal moment was like, so my grandfather was a Holocaust survivor, and his whole family was killed in the, in the camps, and except for his brother and him, and they survived, and they came back and migrated to the US. And the Holocaust Foundation, the Steven Spielberg Foundation, interviewed my grandfather. And there was a pivotal moment where I actually watched the interview that they did with him. And this was years back. And he, at the end, he was a loving person. Like he like didn't have any like really animosity. Like he just believed in helping and loving people. And at the end of the interview, they said, what was a big part of this journey for you? And he's like, he knew he beat the Nazis when his first grandson was born, like the next generation was born. That first grandson was me. And I remember listening to it for the first time and being like, feeling a lot of weight on my shoulders, not in a bad way, but in a like, okay, like his legacy, he considers his legacy living on through me. Right. So I better make the most of everything that I do. And so that's because I was like, oh, I don't know what, and I had heard the interview before, but I didn't realize it till years later and put it together that, I just feel that inherent pressure to be as productive as possible.
Good advice. What's one piece of advice you'd give to an aspiring entrepreneur?
For me, what's worked for me is mentors. Okay. I am a huge proponent. I feel like it leapfrogs over whatever it is. Mentors in health, in business, in what family, whatever it is. And mentorship is huge because someone who's been where I want to be, right? And that really is leapfrog things for me. My friend Ed O'Keefe wrote Time Collapsing, and he talks about in his book, like, how do you collapse time? And for me, it's been, okay, if I want to, like we mentioned, I didn't even know what the word agency was, even though I had one. I went out to get mentors and hired Jason Swank, who built an 8-figure agency and scaled it up and sold it. And then, coaches agencies, for health. I have 2 separate personal trainers. One personal trainer is live, one is virtual, right? And so I can go and figure it out on my own, of course, if I wanted. Like, there's a lot of free information on YouTube, but I don't want to figure it out on my own. And also, how do you know what to trust, right? So I am mentorship has been huge. And those relationships, it's not just the knowledge, but it's the relationships and the recommendations people have, that I don't have to make the same mistakes they did. It's the same thing with podcasting. I've made every mistake in the book, right, with podcasting. And so when I'm giving advice, I'm like helping people leapfrog over those things. And so I hire people in different channels in my life for that purpose. By the way, mentorship, you could get a personal mentor. You could also get a group mentor. You could also, like, I listen to 2 to 5 Audible books a week, right? And for a mere $10 to $20, you could literally get someone's life's work. And so I'm a huge proponent of mentorship through their materials, right? So that's been really kind of impactful for me. And then the second thing is consistency. Like we were talking about with training and health, like one of my goals was do a Murph CrossFit exercise. People could look it up, what it is, but it entails, one of the things in a Murph is 100 pull-ups, and I could do like 1 pull-up. Okay. Like 1 pull-up. I'm like, first of all, it's sad. I need to work out more, but this is when I first started, and I was like, I installed a pull-up bar in our house. I'm like, I'm going to do 1 pull-up a day. And then maybe in between cooking, I'll go do a pull-up, come back and do a pull-up. And so just doing like 1 a day. And as when you're standing there, you're like, okay, this is I'm just going to do 1. I'll do 2 this time. I'll do 3. I'll do 4. I'll do 5. So just doing like a simple, small goal for me has been really beneficial too. And then eventually I finished the Murph in like a record time, but I hated doing pull-ups because I was terrible at them. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to do this plot every single day, just a few.
Good advice. And how can people find you?
People can check out, all the interviews I do are free on inspiredinsider.com, and you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn a lot, Jeremy Weisz there, and you can check out Rise 25. We have a contact form, and you can, I see everything that comes through there, so you can email there too. But yeah, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn.
Well, thank you for joining us today.
Leo, thanks for having me.
And thank you for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed the conversation, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tell your friends and leave a review.